The night was thick with darkness as I climbed into my car, a 1997 sedan that had seen better days. The clock on the dashboard just hit midnight, colored in red, a stark reminder that I was embarking on a journey into the heart of the unknown. My reason for being out so late was mundane enough, a late-night shift at the office that had dragged on longer than expected. The drive home, normally a 30-minute affair, now promised to be a grueling trek through desolation. The road I chose was a winding, narrow one that cut through dense woods. It wasn't the quickest route, but it was one I knew well and had traveled many times during daylight hours. Under the shroud of night, however, it transformed into an eerie, twisted labyrinth. The car's headlights cut through the inky blackness, the only source of illumination on this lonely stretch of road. Trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, as if eager to snag anyone who dared venture here after dark. As I drove deeper into the woods, unease settled over me like a cold fog. The night was oppressively silent, devoid of even the faintest rustle of leaves or the distant hum of civilization. My radio, which had been a reliable companion on countless night drives, emitted nothing but static. I turned it off, not wanting to break the eerie silence. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white with tension. My rational mind tried to dismiss the growing sense of dread, chalking it up to fatigue and imagination. But deep down, a primal instinct screamed at me to turn around, to flee this forsaken road. I rounded a particularly sharp bend, and that's when I saw it. A figure stood in the middle of the road, bathed in the glow of my headlights. My heart leapt into my throat, and I slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching in protest. The figure, a silhouette shrouded in darkness, remained motionless. A feeling of impending doom washed over me as I stared at the enigmatic figure. I blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light, but when I opened my eyes, it was still there. Panic surged through my veins and my fight-or-flight response kicked in. I considered backing up and finding another route, but that would mean getting even closer to the unknown entity. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone to call for help, but to my horror, there was no signal. It was as if I had slipped into a different dimension, cut off from the outside world. The figure started to move, its motions slow and deliberate. As it approached, I could make out more details. It appeared to be a woman, her long, disheveled hair obscuring her face. She was dressed in a tattered white gown that billowed in the night breeze, a stark contrast to the darkness around her. My instincts screamed at me to drive away, to leave this apparition behind, but an inexplicable curiosity held me in place. The woman's head slowly lifted, and I caught a glimpse of her face. Her eyes, or what should have been her eyes, were two empty, hollow voids. A chill ran down my spine as I met her gaze, or lack thereof. There was no humanity in those eyes, only a profound emptiness that seemed to devour everything it touched. It was as if I was staring into the abyss itself. I knew I had to leave, to escape this nightmare, but my body refused to obey. The woman drew closer, her spectral form shimmering in the pale glow of my headlights. With each step, the air grew colder, and I could see my own breath, a tangible testament to the unnatural chill that had descended upon us. She reached the front of my car, her lifeless eyes locked onto mine. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to speak, to scream, but my voice had abandoned me. The world seemed to hold its breath as we stood there in that eerie stillness. And then, with a suddenness that jolted me to my core, the woman extended a bony hand toward me. Her fingers brushed against the windshield, and I felt a surge of icy dread wash over me. Without warning, the glass began to crack, spiderweb fractures spreading like a malevolent virus. With a final burst of terror-fueled adrenaline, I found my voice and floored the accelerator. The car lurched forward, and I tore through the night, leaving the shattered specter behind. The road twisted and turned, and I didn't dare look back. When I finally emerged from the woods and back into the realm of civilization, I pulled over, gasping for breath. My car was damaged, the windshield a fractured mosaic, but I didn't care. I was alive, and that's all that mattered. To this day, I don't know what that entity was or why it chose to manifest on that desolate road. All I know is that I'll never venture into the darkness of the night again, for fear of what else might lurk there, waiting to shatter the fragile boundary between the known and the unknown.